Roll Tide and welcome back to the Advantage Center at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm Roger Hoover. Now, pleased to be joined by Aeden Finateri in our podcast studio as we talk Crimson Tide baseball as we're at the midway point now of the SEC schedule, just past midway for this whole year. And first of all, Aeden, Roll Tide, how have you enjoyed being a part of the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Yeah, most definitely. It's been a great experience. I'm happy to put our head down and keep working, but it's been great so far.
Yeah, we've enjoyed seeing you pitch for the Crimson Tide and really a variety of roles. Have you been proud you've been able to be a midweek starter sometimes, started on the weekend, also out of the bullpen some?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, any way I can help the team. Obviously this is my senior year. I've been, every role you could imagine leading up to this point just throughout my college career. And obviously we have a lot of talented arms, so wherever they need to see me fit, more than willing to help the team, and just glad I get to pitch for the Tide.
What's it been like competing in the SEC? Great experience in the ACC. Again, they had half the field of the World Series last year too. But, yeah. I mean, the SEC truly is a tough baseball league.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, a different animal, just like 1 through 9. Like, it's not like you're taking any batters off. Like, you look up at the scoreboard, you'll see, like, the 9-hole have, like, 4 home runs sometimes. Like, there's power threats 1 through 9. So, just taking the game batter by batter, pitch by pitch, and, just locking in until, they tell you you're done.
How about the road atmospheres we played in too?
It's been amazing. That's one of my favorite parts, like the thrill and adrenaline rush you get, like playing in front of a big crowd, whether it's at the Joe or, away at Auburn or whatever. Like, it's nothing like it. It's crazy.
And even though the baseball may be a little similar between the SEC and the ACC, is that one of the separators, just the fan interest around these
schools?
Yeah,
100%. Especially, it's like there's no off weekends in the SEC. Like, no matter where you go, no matter where they are, in terms of conference play, it's going to be packed and sold out, and maybe you want to get that sometimes in the ACC. So it's definitely, nice to know that every time you go out onto the field, there's going to be a couple thousand, if not more, people watching you play.
Well, and that leads to some charged up atmospheres. And for you, we've talked about the different roles you've had already this season. You get the start, Game 3 of the Oklahoma series, with the series on the line here in Tuscaloosa with Riley Quick out that weekend. Just take us through your mindset, the preparation you had for that outing.
Yeah, I mean, Q's been a bulldog for us all year. Like, great guy, even better teammate. And just, having the opportunity to, fill in his shoes and, pick up a spot for, a start was great. And, I went out there. It was a rubber match. The series was tied 1-1. Oklahoma's like the number 10 or something team at the time. We get that win Friday night, and then we lose Saturday. And then, Sunday we have the rubber match, obviously. But I was doing everything in my power to, put our team in an opportunity to win, and we ended up coming out with it.
Yeah, how do you feel like you had success, especially against that lineup, because they're one of the better hitting teams in the
ACC?
SEC.
Definitely. They're definitely, stayed in the strike zone. They didn't chase, which, is tough for a pitcher because you got to keep it in the zone. But the main thing for me was just get ahead. And, JJ and I kind of like talked about a pitch count before, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm just going to put my head down and keep throwing and keep, in my mind, like throwing punches until he comes and like the bell rings and gets me out. And, I looked up and it was like the end of the 4th, and he came out and grabbed the ball, and I was just satisfied that I was able to go that long for the team.
How would you describe your style on the mound? What are you trying to do?
I mean, I guess I would describe myself as like a bulldog. I don't throw 98. I don't have like crazy heat or crazy slider or anything, but I can mix really well and locate, and I feel like that's what makes me effective. Obviously, like we mentioned, this is my, senior year, so I've been around a lot, and I know the ups and downs of baseball and how it could have you down in the dumps sometimes. So just having that experience and like knowing that myself and helping my teammates whenever they need help, and just kind of explaining like, hey, I've, might have been in your shoes before, but so you're going to come out on the other side, like I promised. But so I'll just attribute that to how I pitch.
I feel like those skills have been sharpened here during your time, especially working with your pitching coach, Jason Jackson.
Most definitely, yeah. Between just the pitching coach and just, you walk into the field every day and everyone's, want and hunger to get better is what really drives me. Like, you walk in and you got freshmen during batting practice that their pants are covered in grass because they're, working their tail off in any way they can. And it's just, you have 40-something guys pouring all they got into this whole team and to craft and make each other better and, bounce off one another in like an iron sharpens iron sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Iron Tide. We kind of see that sign in the dugout. Do you love that kind of tough, rugged mentality this group has?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what, makes us really good, and is scary for a lot of teams. Like, we play for each other, and we're going to go out there and scrap and fight for 9 innings. And that just, like, even when I'm not pitching, just watching, like, fires me up, and I love cheering my guys on because of that.
Pretty fun atmosphere in the dugout?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have it's a good mix of like, the younger and then the older crowd, and then, just like we have some funny guys on team, some serious guys, and just like everyone meshes well in our weird way, and just it's great.
All right, here are the funnier guys.
You're putting me on the spot here.
I got one idea, Brendan Norton.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. We've
yeah.
had him in this
yeah.
room,
No,
so we
definitely
know
a
all
great guy. I mean, it's weird. Like, I'm not trying to just like hype everyone, but everyone's like funny in like their own way. Like, you got JY, who's like the young freshman who's gonna, give seniors like crap sometimes just for messing around. Like, but JY is definitely one of them. Obviously, Brendan Norton, Richie Bottomalo is pretty good. When you get him and G-Stat together, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Those two are funny. Yeah.
I bet. We had Bryce Fowler in the room, and he talked about Bonamolo and LeBron getting the blonde hair. And
Yeah.
I asked if that's going to spread throughout the team. Bryce kind of thought at some point yes, but I guess not for you.
Possibly, yeah. No, I'm not into dyeing my hair, but it looks good on them, so I just can't pull it off.
What about using Will Platner as your barber?
I have thought about that because I recently I was getting faded this summer, and then I said, I'm gonna grow it out for the season, but it actually crossed my mind last night. Should I go back to getting faded? So if I do get faded, it will be by Will Platner.
Keep an eye out for that in the next few weeks for the Crimson Tide. So again, that makes for a fun atmosphere because it is such a long season. There's so many baseball games you have to play, so you got to keep it loose, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Coach Vaughn says it all the time. Like in this league, it's who can ever withstand the punch and the punch and not get derailed off their season. I think that's a good thing for the type of guys we have and the mindset we have as a whole team. So, but yeah, I mean, we're only halfway through, and it feels like I've been here for 2 years. It's not. It's only been a couple months. So, but just like keeping our heads down and staying together and working is what's going to keep us together and make us have a lot of success.
Is that really the message he's had the last couple of weekends after the good start to SEC play, back-to-back series losses against Auburn and Mississippi State? But you guys have been right there in all those games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's been his thing the whole year. Like we swept A&M, and he's like, hey, like this league's the team that can withstand the punch. And like even when we weren't winning, we were on our hotting streak. Like the message was always the same. And when we lose, the message is the same. I think the scary thing about us is that we know our identity and we know who we are. Even though we are going through a rough patch right now, just knowing who you are and having faith in that is going to, push us and kick us out of what we're in right now.
That should fire Tide fans up for what's coming up second half of the SEC season. So that's where we are right now. Let's back it all the way up to the beginning of your baseball journey. First of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Watertown, Connecticut.
Okay, yeah. Just outside of Hartford, or where in that area?
About 40 minutes. I actually went to school, a prep school, Avon Old Farms, like right next to Hartford in Avon. So, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the Hartford area.
Oh, that's pretty good. So was baseball always your first number one sport?
It was, yeah. I played, in high school, more like middle school, I played football, baseball, basketball. Got to high school, freshman year, was playing varsity football, got concussed at halftime, and then I was like, all right, this is like,
that's it.
Yeah, I've won too many concussions for me. And then I transitioned because our high school didn't have like gym, so you had to play 2 competitive sports. So I played squash, which I never heard of. I thought squash was a food until I went to Avon. But it's like a racquetball game that was pretty fun. And we're playing against like these 8th grade teams because I was on like, they called it thirds. It's like the one below JV because I was just like, I've never played the sport before. And they would send us to like these middle schools to play the middle school kids. And I'm getting whooped around by a kid that's 100 pounds, and I'm like 220 pounds bouncing off the glass. And I was like, what am I doing right now? Well, I played that my sophomore, junior year, and then obviously baseball. But, yeah, baseball's always been my love and joy.
Did you live on campus at Avon?
I did, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I was like 30 minutes away from home. It's kind of like you could Google, it's like a Hogwarts type look to the school. It's pretty cool.
So kind of Dead Poet Society kind of feel around that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of buddies go on to the Ivy League and stuff like that?
Yeah. It's a big hockey school. They got a lot of big-time hockey players. There's a few, like, football names that'll come out of there, but, like, mainly hockey, lacrosse, football. And there's, like, George Springer went to Avon, so there's a few good baseball names, but yeah, it's mainly a hockey school.
Were you ever able to connect with him, George Springer?
He stops by. Him and the head coach are really close, so he would come by like once a year. You see him like working out in the off season in the gym and just like checking in and saying hello to the team and all that. So I did see him a few times.
So again, you're going to a great prep school in New England. Were you starting to hear from a lot of colleges? What was the recruiting process like?
Yeah, the recruiting process was interesting. I was a freshman in high school, and I originally committed to Boston College my freshman year, and then I was playing baseball up in the north mainly, and then Team Elite reached out to me, which is a travel team out of Georgia, and then I started spending my summers down there, and that was like the first time I had really like stayed in Georgia or like the South in general for an extended amount of time. And I was like, I really like this, like the warm weather, the baseball, just like the Southern hospitality, everything about it. So I ended up decommitting from Boston College and going to Georgia Tech. And that's where I ended up for the past 3 years.
That's a really great program with a lot of baseball history, tradition, probably one of the better ballparks, one of the sight lines that you can get in
Yeah,
college baseball,
definitely.
right?
Yeah. No, the skyline in the back is pretty beautiful. Yeah.
That's really good. How did they help you make that transition to college baseball? What was kind of some early learning moments you had getting to pitch at that level?
I mean, it was definitely just the mental part of the game. Like in high school, like you could just throw a fastball by everyone and like occasionally mix in a slider and like you're in a good spot. But like when you get to college, like you realize like that you thought you had the game figured out and like you're nowhere close. And I think the biggest thing that like I learned my freshman year is you have those seniors who have done it for at least 3 years now, or maybe 4, depending on eligibility and all that. But like they know the ropes, and that's who you got to lean on and just like constantly pick their brain. And like that's I think the best thing I did as a freshman was I sat down with Chance Huff, who's our Friday guy at the time, and I was just like constantly picking his brain, like asking him certain things. And like even when I would struggle, like he would help me, or even when I was going well, like help me and just bouncing ideas off one another. So that was like a big thing for me, just so finding an older guy and always asking him the tough questions, or when you're going down, like, hey, like, what do you think I should go from here?
We talked about your different roles for Alabama. Just tell us the different roles you had as a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, so my I had a really good fall my freshman year. So we started off the year, I was the Sunday guy, and then like a week before conference play, lost the Sunday role, which I was like, all right, like finally got humbled, like this is good. Then I ended up pitching against Georgia on like the back half relief because we played them in like a series every year. I ended up throwing like 3 scoreless, and I was like, all right, like I found my role out of the pen. So my freshman year, I was like mid relief out of the pen, like high leverage situation. Sophomore year, had like the same role, and then halfway through the season turned into a starter. So I was starting on Saturdays, and then last year I was our Saturday guy to start the year, and then like a quarter of the way through was the Friday guy for the rest of the year.
Do you like that pressure of being the Friday night starter?
Yeah, I do. The thing that I like about it is like as the Friday guy, you like set the tone for the weekend, and if you do have a good outing, like you can set the blueprint for the whole staff and how you're gonna attack guys. So that was like the role I liked about it.
That's really good. So again, great time at Georgia Tech, and then you're thinking about your senior year. What made the transfer portal an option for you, and then what made Alabama stand out?
Yeah, I mean, always in the back of my mind, like you're around college sports and all that, and like you always hear like the SEC, it just means more. And then like when you're like not in college, like playing college baseball at the time, you're like, oh, like yeah, maybe. Then like you see it, and like this conference is so competitive that you have teams with like 13 conference wins are in tournaments, and like that just shows you how good the talent is here because like we have like this league teams will just beat up on each other, and then you look at Omaha and it's half the ACC teams and it's half the SEC. But in the back of my mind, like I always just wanted to experience like the highest level of baseball and like at the collegiate level and even the pros if that's an opportunity for me one day. But just like to be around the best and play the best, like that's what I wanted to be a part of.
And you get to do that every single week here at Alabama. When in the recruiting process did Alabama start to stand out to you?
I mean, right off the bat, kind of when I entered the portal, I had like a previous relationship with Coach Vaughn. He recruited me out of high school a little bit while he was still at Maryland. So I like knew him there, so it was a familiar face. So like when I entered the portal and I was getting phone calls and all that, it was like I was talking to him for like the 7th time just because of like our high school relationship. But I just really love like what he embodies and how he is as a head coach and like a mentor for his players and all that. And then obviously I got introduced to JJ, just his mind on pitching and like how he goes about things I really fell in love with. And like Coach Mo, same thing, like pitching guy background. Obviously does stuff with the catchers and the pitchers, but just having like those great minds around, like helping fine tune you is like was a no doubter for me.
Did you get to come here before you made your decision?
I did, yeah. I came before I actually toured the facility and saw this room and all that. And I was walking, I was like, that would be cool, but like I'm never gonna be on a podcast. Like then here I'm sitting here now. So but no, yeah, it was just cool because like I remember like being a little kid watching Alabama football games on the TV with my dad, and I'd be like that. It felt like fairyland. It was like that place isn't real. Like I'm never gonna see that. But now I'm here and just like living out my last year of college baseball has just been absolutely great.
Well, that's really good. So you got to come here, got to see Sewell Thomas Stadium, all the great facilities. Did that make it kind of an easy decision, especially with the relationships you had with the coaches?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it was more like the relationships what like made the decision, but like everything like this university as a whole is just a cherry on top. Like the people, like the standard basically of college sports, just like playing here has been amazing.
And of course, you're coming in for your first year at Alabama. A lot of other guys are too, whether it's transfer portal, some freshmen coming in, but just being around you guys back in February, it seemed like you guys have been playing together for 3 years. It seemed
Yeah.
like kind of a veteran group. Just what was the kind of team bonding you all did in the fall to really come together and have a tight bond?
I would have to contribute that to like one, the personalities, but also just like two, the experiences. Like you have a lot of like older guys that we brought in and just like having that background and like when you're an older guy and it's like whether it's your third or fourth year around college baseball, like that like the locker room and like your team and your guys, like that's everything. Like you could have a team full of all-stars, but if you don't gel together correctly, you're not going to go anywhere. So I think just a mixture of like having the older guys that like knew that in the back of their mind, but also just having like younger guys with like great personalities and great mindsets and like they want to show up to the field every day and work. Like it's really easy for everyone to gel when you're all like pulling on a rope in the same direction.
Of course, there are a lot of Alabama kids on this roster, and
Yeah.
you see that with nearly every SEC team, whatever their home state is. But there's also a bit of an East Coast flair with this
Yeah.
group as well. Do you guys kind of bond together? The guys that come from Connecticut, New York, Jersey, all that?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's definitely like it's a tight knit group, Northeast baseball, because it's not like it's the South where it's as big. So you definitely know each other and all that. The craziest thing for me was the second semester of my senior year, I went to IMG because of COVID for baseball. So I ended up playing there. So like I've like played with Brady Neal before. I've played with Packy Bradley Cooney before. Carson Keeney, like all those kids. Like it was just weird how like baseball ends up working out. And it's like kids, even though like I played travel ball with Colson growing up on team weight. So it's just like weird how the connection like all lines up down the road. It's just crazy.
Now, did you ever face Jason Torres in a Tech Miami game?
I actually didn't.
Okay.
That was right when he got injured, unfortunately. It was like literally they were traveling to come play us, and that was when he got hurt.
But now you're glad he's on your
Yeah,
side.
no, I'm glad I didn't face. I actually had a good outing against Miami that year, and it might have been a little different if Torres was in the box. So I'm not happy that he was hurt by any means, but it was good that okay for me that he was out of the lineup that day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you come to Alabama. What's your first impression of Justin LeBron?
I mean, it's just crazy. Just I obviously heard the name. You know who he is. Like if you watch any sort of baseball or even probably have an ESPN app, you know who Justin LeBron is. But the craziest thing for me was just like you have someone that's like so talented and so good at his craft and what he does. Just the way he goes about his business. Like it's very easy for him to like fall in a hole and like LeBron could probably be the cockiest guy in the world and like no one would say a thing to him, but he's not at all. Like he's the one who's staying after, helping, talking to the younger guys, like coaching up them. Like he was just a freshman last year, like guiding them through that. Just like his mindset and how mature he is for, being a sophomore was like what was the most mind-blowing thing to me.
Yeah, an amazing shortstop. Again, off to a great year as a sophomore. You work with all your infielders, of course, but especially your catchers, Brady Neal, Will Plattner. How key have they been to your success?
I mean, they've been great. Like each one of them, they're like unique in their own ways. Like Platt's got that like gritty mentality about him, and like Brady's more of like that like silky smooth catcher like type ordeal. But like both of them have been great. They're two bulldogs, like great bats, great catchers. Like I love throwing them, and like no complaints at all. Just the work ethic they both have and how tough they both are. Like they embody what Alabama baseball is, and it's been a pleasure to throw to them.
Of course, they're pushing the buttons as the catcher with the PitchCom device.
Yeah.
Just tell our fans, what are you guys actually hearing in your ball cap or glove when the pitch comes in?
This is pretty good. So it's actually Brett, Coach Price, the strength coach. It's his voice. So he'll
like pre-programmed in there?
Yeah, it's
okay.
pre-programmed. Yeah. So it used to be Case and Rainey, who was like our assistant pitching coach, but he got a new job with the Reds. So then we reprogrammed it like right before the season. It was kind of like subtly announced, but we had like a scrimmage and like you hear the pitch com and it's Coach Price's voice and he's going heater away. So it's kind of funny. So it's like obviously when you're in the weight room, like Price will be yelling at you, motivating you to move some weight. So I kind of liked it because it's like transition on the mound. It's almost like you're in the weight room, like it's time to work when you hear his voice going through your ear. So yeah, JJ will press a button and it'll be like fast or heater away or slider away. And then it's when we shake or like we can't hear it that the catcher will tap it in again.
That's really good.
Yeah,
So
it's
you hear
crazy.
Brett Price's voice the whole time you're out there.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
you do.
How much has he helped you getting to be in the weight room? You guys have your own facilities, but I imagine you use the football stuff as well too.
Yeah. We occasionally use that. Obviously, it's a lot easier for the pitchers because there's not as many as us, and like throwing gets broken up, so we mainly work out at the Joe. But no, it's been great. I mean, to be completely honest, like I came into the fall a bit overweight, so I was in there working with him and the nutrition staff real early to get me where I needed to be. And it's been great. He's been pushing me, like hitting all the right buttons, and I'll be like, hey, like when I'm throwing, like I'm feeling this, and he's like, all right, like let's do this exercise, or hey, this is like a little sore today from throwing yesterday. Like, is there any way we can modify the workout? He's like, yeah, no problem. He always has like 2 or 3 extra things to do better. But I mean, the greatest thing about him is like he's not the type of strength coach where it's like closed off, doesn't want to talk like all toughness. Like, yeah, he's one tough guy, but like he also reasons with you, and he's also has feel where it's like we have a really long season. Like, I'm not going to try to kill you guys because the risk of injury is going to go up. Don't get me wrong, he still gets us good, but it's like the perfect mesh of like strength coach, but like also like has feel for your body and how long the year is.
Yeah, and with how long the year is, I mean, people don't realize. I mean, you can lose muscle as the baseball season goes along if you're not lifting.
It's
right?
crazy, yeah. And that's the biggest thing. Like we'll do like tune-ups like on Monday and Wednesday. Like I'll have a lift later today, but it's just like the the mix of all that, and then he has like the hitters doing primer lifts right before, so it's almost like a stretch almost in a way, but it's a little bit weighted just for like explosiveness. It's crazy. Like I've never experienced that part of like the workout side in college sports, so it's been great.
Yeah, that's a great experience as a student athlete. Part of that is being a student. How have you enjoyed just being a student at a huge school like this compared to a small prep school like you had in New England?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, the craziest part is just like one, how many people are here, and two, like the campus is absolutely beautiful. Like when I was at like Georgia Tech, it was a nice campus and all that, but I'd like scooter around. But like here, like I don't know, it could be just because I'm a senior and I'm like, this is my last year, but like I park my car and I'm like, I'm gonna take all this in. Like I walk everywhere. So I'll walk to class, walk through the quad, and just like take it all in. But I mean, it's absolutely stunning. Like the weather's great today. Like the sun, I think it's cool how all the bricks are matching on the campus. They pointed that out on my visit. But just like the whole landscape as a whole, and just like the school camaraderie around the sports here, like it's been amazing.
So with your time between Georgia Tech and Alabama, do you have a degree from Tech? Kind of what's the focus then academically?
No, so I was only transferred out as a junior, so I had obviously the 2 more semesters to complete, and I was a business management at Georgia Tech, and then the degree that enabled for me to graduate on time this year, I'm in HES here, so I'll be graduating with an HES degree.
That's really good. What do you think life would be like for you after baseball? Hopefully, again, a long career coming up in big leagues, but what after that? Maybe?
That's a great question. My dad owns a construction company, and I've been kind of he taught me a little bit of toughness by having me on the job site from a young age, carrying lumber and all that. So I do have a love for construction. Not that I would necessarily want to be a construction like worker and working, but more on the business side. I've also always had like aspirations in real estate and thought that was really cool. Like my aunt does commercial real estate in Florida, so that was also like a interesting, way for me. But I honestly have no idea, but I'm sure I'll be thinking long and hard somewhere in the near future. So when the time comes, the time comes. But something around either real estate or building construction, one of those two.
Yeah, we'll let you focus on that after, again, many years of pro baseball in your future. But now you've got 5 weekends left in SEC play. Just what's going to be the focus for this team? What is this group capable of in the next few weeks?
I mean, I think we're capable of doing a whole lot of damage, but I think the biggest thing for us is just sticking with who we are, and that's what got us going and got us hot. So it's just like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But just a sense of like not trying to do too much. Like we're gonna play our game. It's more than good enough. We can compete with anybody when we stick with that plan. So I think that's what we're gonna come out of the gate with this second half, and it's gonna turn out real well.
Well, you're going to go to some hostile road environments starting this week with LSU. And, of course, your name, Aeden Finateri. A lot of people will just turn their heads and go, like, Vinatieri? Like Adam Vinatieri?
Yeah.
Have you heard that kind of all throughout your life?
Yeah, I've got that a lot. And they're like the kicker? And I was like, yeah, but like the kicker with an F in the front. Yeah. But, no, it's been funny to hear that. That's always been a good one, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, you're doing great for Alabama in a variety of different roles. Just thank you so much for the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck the rest of the way. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.